The mood right now at Halo Studios is tense as Microsoft is laying off over 9,000 people, 4% of the entire corporation, and are trying to replace people allegedly with AI agents. Is AI going to make the next Halo game? Also, we have some exciting news that Helldivers is coming on August 26th to Xbox as many people wanted. There's even a really cool Master Chief mod. Of course, this is on Nexus Mods only PC, but still, if you do play on PC, there is tons of really cool ODST and Halo mods that you can put into the game. And it's quite fitting because there was actually an ODST game that was very similar to Helldivers that was pitched and canned back in the day. So Rebs Gaming posted this, some information from Engadget, who spoke to a Halo Studios developer. At least 5 employees were laid off. They received an invite to a meeting with organization leaders, and 2 very long hours later, the team calls began. So the mood, they say, at the studio is tense, especially when it comes to one project that was recently in crisis, according to one developer. They say, I don't think anybody is really happy about the quality of the product. Halo game right now. They said there's been a lot of tension and pep talks trying to rally folks to ship. Since 2023, there's been a general shift towards working with contracted studios rather than individual contractors in the United States and Europe to speed up Halo production. Developer says Microsoft is trying their damnedest to replace as many jobs as they can with AI agents. And of course, there is just so much happening in the industry. I think that this is a part of a bigger kind of economic event. But with that being said, clearly a lot is happening. And I think Microsoft is finally paying for their sins of buying Activision. And it's very unfortunate that the FTC allowed that to pass because this is quite honestly a monopoly, at least in my opinion, the fact that they own all of these studios and they're not even doing a super great job with much of any of them, right? They've laid off tens of thousands of people just for the investors to feel like the company is growing when really it's just buying up studios and killing franchises. Like, I don't think they should have spent 70 something billion dollars on new studios when games like Halo are getting neglected, are drowning, and cannot push a thing to release, any decent product to release, and they are buying up more studios. Not to mention, I think Xbox Game Pass is, I agree here, one of the will go down as one of the worst long-term money-making strategies in gaming history. And I think we kind of got a warning shot with this a couple of maybe a year ago or so actually, where Microsoft was debating putting Call of Duty on the Xbox Game Pass because they weren't sure it would be profitable, which to me just tells me that the Xbox Game Pass is a gimmick. And honestly, I think this is a part of the reason why Halo Infinite did so terribly was the way that Halo was managed by 343. All Microsoft wanted was for 343 to release a decent campaign, and they told 343, allegedly, from what my birdie and trusted source has told me personally, was that they were given pretty much full autonomy how to manage Halo Infinite's multiplayer, and if it did well, they would get bonuses. This comes down to possibly leadership, but this is allegedly, and I'm getting a little bit off base here, but this is pretty insane. I mean, making the next Halo game with AI, with AI agents, which are just much more productive, kind of streamlined AI that can kind of pull out and do tasks, right? But the thing is, AI is not there, right? And this kind of goes into like a bigger conversation I could probably talk about. I think that AI is unavoidable. It is going to take over everything. You can even generate like primitive type games with AI, albeit they're not very fun or playable at the moment, but it is the worst it's ever going to be, and it is rapidly improving, and AI is going to take over and change absolutely everything in our world, including games, including Halo. And I think hopefully there will still be people that are in charge and are being creative and will use AI ethically and as tools instead of just letting them do all the heavy lifting, right? And do all the creative fun stuff while the training data is based on other artists. But with that being said, this is basically here, Reps Gaming again, Lifesaver here. Rob Semney, former 343 Industries Chief and of Staff and Director of Operations and Communications. This person is probably getting gutted for AI, as well as the Halo Studios graphic software engineer since 2020. They were both impacted by the Microsoft layoffs. Now, they did a LinkedIn kind of family friendly, we're not alone on this, and this was a great journey, and I'm off to new chapters and stuff like this. I want to know how they really feel, right? They're being professionals about this, but this can't feel good, especially that these are people that have worked at the studio for a long time. We need more employees at Halo Studios, and I feel like they finally got back up to 80, 90% of what the studio needs to be. And here we are, still getting stomped out by popularity and love by little studios like Arrowhead with Helldivers, for example, launching on Xbox. There's so much hype for this. Why? Why is this happening, right? Why is there little studios with minimal budgets can outperform massive corporations, the biggest corporations in the world? Why can't Microsoft deliver a single good product? And why are they firing half of Turn 10, which has made only good Forza Horizon games, right? Like they've done a great job. They've only released bangers. I'm not personally interested in them, but they've always, done well review wise. But this is what I've said on X. I said, why have things been in crisis mode for Halo for a decade now? What game is in crisis mode, right? Why do we keep getting crisis, right? What needs to happen to fix Halo or launch a game? Like, game development has never been cheaper and more accessible. Now, listen, I know technically I'm wrong about this. I know that it's like more expensive, not only keeping in mind of inflation, but also other things like shipping the game and platforms and bugs and like the standard AAA thing. But I think it's massively ironic because game development has never been more accessible, and yet AAA studios cannot release anything. They've never been richer than now, right? They've never been more successful for the most part than right now, as far as like the company's value and its budget for things, right? Like Microsoft is a lot bigger nowadays than it was 10 years ago. So why can't they release a Halo game? Well, I think this obviously does come back to investors. I think that all they care about is stock go up. They don't really care about the long term growth. I think most people don't. I think when they invest, they just want money now. All they worry about is quarters. And, I think that this is pretty sad because I know Rebs Gaming, he posted about it somewhere here. He said that or maybe yeah, right here. So he actually had a really great quote here. This is someone that was affected, right? They said, "I'm personally super pissed that Phil, which is the head of Xbox, Phil's email to us bragged about how this was the most profitable year ever for Xbox in the same breath as pulling the lever on the layoffs," the developer told Engadget. "I wasn't sure what part of that I was supposed to be proud about." So again, Microsoft and most corporations are making record profits. They'll have you believe that they're still struggling from C19, but I think at large it isn't true. I think the greed is just out of control. And I think that they've gotten so big that there is impossible bloat to, like, they need to lay off so many people. I think they're possibly laying off some of the wrong people. And, obviously, what a big conversation point that I kind of did not have time for in my last video was to discuss was like, are some of the people getting axed? Is this I'm just going to say it just to keep it simple. You guys know what I'm talking about. The woke crowd, the DEI crowd. Is it the people that should not have necessarily been there or earned their place, but were just kind of hired to get some government mandates to, get some kind of write-offs or something like that, all the corporate things. I don't know. Like Microsoft, just after firing all these people, requested, I think it was like over 1,500 visas for Indians to come over to the States, which is fine, but like it's just also not fine. It's sad because obviously they're looking for, I think, possibly cheaper labor from other places in the world instead of just like fixing their studios, fixing the game. Like, this is embarrassing. You guys are a multi-trillion dollar worth company, and you can't run one studio. Like, you can't even release a game. Now, there is a few things I haven't discussed here in detail here. Like, obviously, Halo Studios is tense, and I don't exactly know why that is, but also how, And I think what like I know in some ways it's because of probably bad leadership, but like why can't they make a game? Is it because there's not like a good structure? Are the managers that used to be there, like Bonnie Ross and Frank O'Connor, were they keeping things together? There's so many unknowns here. I think I think the one thing we do know is that the studio it has been or is or will be in crisis mode. I think that's kind of the status quo at 343. I don't know why. Maybe I'm completely off point because this is allegedly, right? In my opinion, I think that this is true. And since 2023, they say there's been a general shift towards contracted studios. That's interesting. That's something that I've been recommending since Halo 5, or really possibly even Halo 4. I've been saying, hey, you guys need to actually get other people on this because whatever you're doing at 343 is not working, right? But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below, and we'll pick up on this if there's any new stuff to come out. But I'm worried about obviously the next Halo game being replaced with AI, but honestly, maybe at this point it might even be better than what 343 can do. I don't know, but given given their track record with things. But you guys let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and I'll see you soon. Peace.